Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast show. On this morning, a brand new start to a brand new day, and it's that time again for another one of our brand new Wednesday features, as we always call it, where we focus on the unconventional side of the law. It's called So Now What? And we're joined once again by our expert lawyer and director at Legalese.co.za, Eitan Stern. So today we're focusing on what your legal rights and recourses are should you encounter a mishap when traveling on an airplane. It's already a pretty much high-stress situation being in the air. So we're going to jump in and look at the things that you can do to transform that into a much more smoother experience.
Exactly. Eitan, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you. I love that we're talking about this topic, eh?
Yeah.
You travel a lot. You got like 10 passports.
You travel more than me, okay? So at some point we have come across
Concerns.
difficult situations.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to things like, let's say, a faulty aeroplane that delays you taking off or bad weather, anything that stops you as a passenger who's paid for that ticket from having a good experience, is there recourse for you in that?
Okay, so yes and no. What you have to remember, what everyone has to remember when flying, is that the main objective for any airline is to get you from point A to point B safely and alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it is incredibly complex to do that because humans are not really supposed to fly. So, there is a body of aviation law, but 90% of that law is about one thing and one thing only: keeping you safe and alive. The comforts, the gin and tonics, the peanuts, all of that is fantastic. But
Did you get that wrong?
I firmly don't agree with you in that sense because though the main purpose might be getting you from point A to point B safely, you do also happen to pay a premium for certain services, which you are then entitled to.
Yes, for sure. So there's different laws. Yes, you're 100% right. There's laws related to someone's safety. So if you get hurt in any scenario and someone is negligent, that person's going to be at fault. But the body of law that is about aviation, it's called aviation law. Yes. And most of the laws that there are around safety. So there are customer service sort of things, and obviously if someone does something to harm you intentionally or negligently, that person's going to be liable. But most of the law around aviation is going to be around safety.
So let's open up that can of worms and talk about what should happen and what you can do should you get injured during the course of a flight, or maybe even while the plane is still on the ground, maybe taxiing out, but you were injured during the course of this procedure, and what actions you can take.
Let's say there's turbulence and one of the bags falls on you, or you get hurt while,
So any person in any scenario has a right to claim damages if they're hurt. And you basically have to show two things: that you were the person, you have what we call locus standi, you have the right to sue, and that that you were harmed by someone's negligence or intentional harm. So if an airline didn't do their safety checks, and one of the latches for the overhead cabinet wasn't properly closed, then you would be able to sue.
Okay.
But if it was just turbulence in the sky and the pilot managed to keep the airplane aflight and everyone landed safely, then everything's going to be fine. So really the idea is to see, was there any sort of negligence on anyone's behalf? And then you'll have a right, otherwise not.
The question that I want to ask, and this is a huge one for me because I often am confronted with this on a plane, is rowdy passengers. Okay, so everybody else, it's a late flight, it's the red
100%.
eye, you're tired, you're exhausted, you just want to get home. And there are people a few rows behind you that have forgotten that they're not the only people on the plane.
100%.
I want to ask you what one does in that, but not now, because we're going to be back after this. But talk about it, because you need to tell me, because I'm going to do that the next time. We are going to be back
my lawyer said so.
We're going to be back in a moment with our segment, So Now What? With lawyer Eitan Stern.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back. This is your Feel Good Breakfast show. We're live, large and in charge, and continuing our discussion with our lawyer and director friend from Legalese.co.za, Eitan Stern, about what your legal rights are when it comes to encountering mishaps when you're traveling on an airline, okay? So we spoke about the fact that the law that governs aviation is mainly focused around your safety, getting you from point A to point B safely. Everything else is a little bit of a new nuance that has been introduced that'll be figured out in time, right?
Sure.
Exactly.
Well, because air travel is so popular now, it's become very comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's also a very frustrating experience. I mean, you know, you're tired. For those people that travel a lot, and you get onto a flight. I don't know if there's a law around this, but I'm not saying that people should be quiet. We can all have a conversation, but this is the conversation. You can hear me, I can hear you.
Yeah.
But there are people that speak really loudly on the airplane, and they laugh and they cackle and they scream, and it's just so annoying for everybody else. Like, do you have any rights to go to that person and say, excuse me, could you bring your voice down?
Sure.
They'll probably be like, girl, don't you tell me. Or can you ask the air hostess to be like, can you please ask them to be quiet?
I'm someone that believes you have the right to tell any person to keep quiet in any situation if someone's being loud and disorderly. So on an airplane, what's quite interesting is that it's actually quite a strict scenario because you're obviously dealing with quite a tense situation. You're up in the air, there's safety concerns, and people's temperaments are going to be higher.
Yeah.
So the way it works on an airplane is if someone is drunk or disorderly or loud, you can definitely tell them to be quiet. You can go to the air hostess who is able to, or air host who's able to tell them to be quiet, and they have quite a lot of power on an airplane to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
And the person who's really in charge is the captain, the pilot. We call them they are the command-in-chief on the flight. And if the captain decides that this person is drunk and disorderly and is causing a ruckus, that person can be arrested on the flight, and as soon as the plane touches down, they'll be the first person off, taken straight to jail.
Wow.
So the pilot has that power, and so do the air staff. They have the power to do that, and they're given that power because of how what the safety precautions up in the air. So if someone is drunk and disorderly, should definitely tell them to stop or tell the air hostess.
There's a lot of drunk and disorderly people on the flight that
Yes.
I'm on. I don't know why.
What time of flight?
A lot of them.
You talk about the airline staff, the air hostesses or the flight attendants being given power. And one thing they'd like to do when they exercise that power, with all due respect, is to say, sir, you must switch off your phone now. Sir, switch off your phone now.
It's enough
What is the deal with that? Does the phone really disturb the aircraft navigational system?
So the rules, so aviation, we do a lot of aviation law at our work, and aviation law is full of lots and lots of little rules that have been built up over time in order to keep us safe in the air. So when cell phones were introduced, there was a concern about airplane safety, that it would affect the navigational system. That's long since disproved. But we still are asked to put away our cell phones because takeoff and landing are the most dangerous parts about flying, and we need to have razor-sharp reaction times. So any person that's sitting on their cell phone, if there was an incident, they wouldn't be able to react. So we are made to put everything away so we can be on our utmost, the quickest reaction time. Also, when you'll notice, when you take off and land, everything is stowed away, it's strapped down to the aircraft. Because if something did happen, the last thing you want is an iPad or a cell phone flying around and hitting someone. So it's mostly for our safety that we're asked to put everything away.
I needed to ask this question.
Sure.
The difference between being in this seated position and being in this seated position.
Okay.
What's that all about?
The answer would probably scare you, but I can definitely tell you. Again, everything around aviation is built around safety. So the seats are designed according to international standards to keep us safe. And so, for an example, one of the things that's happened where an airplane crashed about 10, 15 years ago, probably more than that, it crashed, and the seat design meant that on crash, it snapped the legs of the people behind them. There was a metal bar. So since then, the seats have had to be changed in order to make sure that it's the safest on if there was a crash. So everything
in that upright, uncomfortable position is when the seat is at its safest.
Exactly. Everything about the seat and on the airplane is designed based on crash experience in order to keep everyone safe. So whatever the position you're supposed to be in is what international standards have ruled that is your safest position to be in should something go wrong.
So don't even try and take a chance, actually, because...
Don't try to take a chance at anything on an airplane. You are very high and...
But how about leg space? When your poor legs are up here because there's no room, you could also get hurt.
For sure. So that's why it's getting quite interesting. As airplanes get fuller and fuller and it becomes more and more commercial, there's always this push between airlines making more money and keeping us safe on board airlines. And that's been the big issue that's happened with Boeing a couple of months ago. In that Boeing cut some corners and led to some people, two crashes. So it's a big issue. So with air travel, it's always about what's the most convenient based against what's the safest for us. Sure. And we can really be rest assured that aviation is unbelievably safe because of lots and lots of laws and lots of people spending lots of time thinking about what keeps us safest.
Okay.
Rowdy passengers on board, just get yourself a good set of headphones with noise cancelling. Just
until they say, please take it off, please put your phone away.
Wow, Leanne, come on. Okay, let's buy an airline. How about that? Yes. Let's buy an Expresso airline and we start flying soon. I don't know. But listen, if you'd like to ask more questions, then follow our friends at Legalese. They are on social media at Lawyers of Legalese, and I'm sure they are experts in aircraft or aviation law, and they'd be able to dispense with that information. But Eitan, thank you very much.
Only a pleasure.
Very enlightening.
Sure.
So that's now what?